Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Only Murders in the Building, Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. Welcome to Only YouTubers in the Building. Okay,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
nobody is getting murdered here. No, instead, we need to figure out a way to just look all like slick and like, because Steve Martin's got like that really cool mic he's like speaking into.
Yeah, no, their podcast is starting to become next level. People want to buy it. People want to be part of it. The podcast, it is booming for them.
When is Amy Schumer coming over here to make us an offer on the YouTube channel? No, okay,
No, that's my response. You want to buy it, Amy Schumer? No.
get out. Okay, I love saying get out. Okay, anyway, there's so much to talk about here. We will share early theories as to who killed Bunny, our analysis on a lot of these really good scenes. I love these episodes so much. I'm so happy the show is back.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we've been really excited to cover this. We've been counting down the days till it came back. We got 2 episodes right out the gate, which was really cool. I mean, yeah, let's get ready here.
All right, so right out of the gate here, that subscribe button. It wants you to hit it. It wants you to stick around. We got it. We have so much coverage of this show coming. We don't want you guys to miss any of it after every single episode.
Murder that subscribe button. No, and also follow us over on Instagram, Matt and Jess TV. If you're new to the channel, it is full of bunny pics,
Yes.
dog pics, cat pics. My bunny just got a new bed from IKEA that she loves. She loves to sit in it. She
Yeah.
loves to eat it. We got some pictures over there, Matt and Jess TV.
Okay, so just from the start, Shirley MacLaine, I love you with every part of my heart. Like the funny, there's 2 moments in these 2 episodes that just straight up killed me. First and foremost, Shirley MacLaine telling Charles that Brazos is to show on in the nursing home while people are dying. If Shirley MacLaine said something like that to me, I would be deceased. I would never be able to recover. If I was Steve Martin, I would have not had a straight face. In between that and then the line about Bunny's secret elevator being descending into hell, like there was so much good humor in these episodes.
She is so funny. She has been able to deliver throughout this episode. It was so absolutely stunning to have her there. Her with the knife trying to cut the cheese and just like boop and eat the whole thing. No, there was a lot of humor in this. I found even more so than last season.
Yeah.
Season, when I first started watching it and it was like, oh, this is a comedy. I was like, okay, I can see that there's a couple ha-has here and there, but overall I found last season to be a little more serious, a little more filled with heart and, mystery, the whodunit, some really kind of darker moments. But this season started off right away with the laughs with Michael Rappaport, cursing up a storm, with them getting interrogated.
Yeah.
So they are persons of interest.
Yes.
And that's where we're kind of starting out these 2 episodes. They are being framed, they know it, and they're trying to figure out who it is. And there are a lot of suspects.
I think what they did that was really kind of smart is just from the get-go with that Michael Rappaport scene, we sort of learned right away. Yeah, he was fantastic. And we get another sort of reminder of, okay, here is Mabel talking about the knitting needle on her own on the podcast. So it's like right away we get sort of this indication that, okay, whoever has framed Oliver, Charles, and Mabel for what happened to Bunny, this is somebody who is clearly well aware of the Only Murders in the Building podcast. They have studied it, they have listened to it, and this is where it's the first alarm bell of this is going to be a really big problem because they're chasing someone who seems to know them inside and out.
And there's a lot of suspects with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got some old suspects like Howard, who they are really trying to push as a possible suspect, with him, with the missing painting coming over to their house, his mysterious black eye that his new cat has allegedly given him. They really want us to think that Howard has something to do with it. I do not think Howard has anything to do with it. Neither Uma either. Those 2 are not framing anybody for nothing.
I would be so sad if it is Howard, because Howard is one of my favorite weird because let's face it like this. Anybody who has lived in a building or a complex or something like this, you all know a Howard, the character who's a little bit too nosy, who is
Mm-hmm.
very strange and very eccentric, like who randomly has a black eye and doesn't explain it.
Yeah, I mean something is going on, but I
Yeah,
don't think he's really responsible for it. But we did learn a little more than we knew last season. So last season all we saw was that Mabel came back to her apartment.
yeah,
Bunny was dead on the floor with a knitting needle.
yeah.
So that was all we really knew. This season, we know that Bunny wasn't actually all dead when she
No,
came into the apartment. Bunny was alive, and Bunny said two things so far. Seems to keep adding and adding to
yeah.
it. She said the number 14, and she said the word savage.
So we got a sense that Savage is a reference to what was written on the back of the painting, which may not even be the real version of the painting. The 14, this is what I'm still kind of, I don't know, confused about. Like my initial reaction is, okay, is there a 14, like a building, like an apartment 14 in the Arconia? Is it linked somehow to that?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really dive too much into what was said, which I was kind of surprised a little bit about. I
Yeah,
mean, they are amateurs, but at the same time, they're really intuitive with a lot of things. And for them to not dive deeper and even just have a small conversation like that, oh, 14, could it be an apartment number? Could it be someone's age? Could it, what could it actually be? There wasn't really anything. And it was sort of the same with the bird. When they went in and the bird was talking and talking in Bunny's voice, I
yeah.
was like, this bird must have seen something. And even if it hasn't seen something, it can repeat what people are saying. So if something happened with Bunny in this apartment, this bird is clearly a talker. Like, you're not even gonna sit there and try to talk to this bird and figure out what's going on.
It's true. And like there's of course a natural part of me that is just like, okay, all right. So you got the bird who witnessed the crime, and I feel like I've seen this on like 5 different crime shows already, but at the same time, it's so stupid that I kind of like it. And it's just like, of course the bird knows something. Of course we're being left off with, Bunny leaving Oliver, this bird behind that he has to watch. Like the whole premise of this is so ridiculous, but it's like, does anything the bird say, like, can a bird be admissible in a court of law? Are you going to bring in the bird as a witness?
No, but at least they might be able to get some clues, which is something that they really need because clearly they're being framed. They know
Yeah,
they are. Things are popping up in their apartments. Like Charles goes back to his apartment. There's the painting, the
yeah.
missing painting that Howard and Uma went up to Bunny's apartment to be like, we need to get this painting. It's worth like $1 million. Like, we got to get it. We got to get it. Ah, where is it? So of course it gives them kind of a motive. But again, I don't think
No.
it's them, but it's things are popping up. But on top of that, then you have Cinda who is following them around, stole their model of I'm gonna do the podcast as it's still unfolding, which is
Yeah.
so irritating. If you're like a YouTuber or a podcaster and someone has stolen your model or adopted your model, you know what I'm talking about. It is really irritating. Anyways,
Yeah.
for another
It's the
time,
worst.
it's the worst. But so there's that going on, and that's really important because that means that she and other people around her are watching everything they do. Then you add on this like fame that's happening with them, and everybody's eyes really are on them. I think the best advice they got was stop podcasting for right now, because the more you keep podcasting, the more people plus the murderer are going to have information about you to continue to make things worse for you.
It's true. And it's a situation where they're fueling their own fire. I also understand that they're emotional and probably upset because here is Cinda, who is basically like exploiting what they've done and is like, haha, look at me now, which I'm not sure I really think Cinda's the murderer yet, but I love Tina Fey. As just like a Tina Fey fan, I would just want to see her go full villain and see her try to outflank him. And it's really just like a crazy psychotic person who's just like desperate for fame.
She has motive. The
Yes.
fact that she was getting a little bit worried that their podcast was catching a little steam last season, that's one thing. But seeing that model of podcast works, where there's tons of true crime podcasts that cover murders and incidents that happened in the past, but covering something as it's happening and as it's unfolding is not something that, is really happening and out there. So for Cinda to see something that's really a little bit of magic in a bottle, for her to create a situation where, okay, she's heard everything on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sure Bunny's been mentioned on the podcast, that everybody hates Bunny. She knows enough to be able to set something up like that. Yes, we had Bunny talk about the painting before she got killed or whatever, but she also said the number 14. So, I mean, we don't know what that's connected to, and it could be connected to Cinda.
Okay, so really, I don't think anybody we've met yet is the murderer, if I'm being totally honest. I just think that this show, they're going to introduce somebody at some point over these next few episodes who I think is going to end up being sort of a big candidate. Because there's one thing that I'm really stuck on, and that is that the painting that they clearly framed by putting it in Charles's place, whoever did that would have to know that Charles has a personal connection. So they either would have seen Savage written on the back of that painting, or they would know that that is Charles's father. So that really puts it in this position where that wasn't something that was ever in any podcast. Nobody ever mentioned anything about Charles's father in a podcast as far as we know. So that really kind of narrows this list down further to somebody who was clearly doing a lot of research or understood that that painting existed.
Yeah, it's either it's about the painting and it really is about Charles. We're learning a lot about his father in this season already. We've learned that, he was cheating around with a bunch of people, that he may have been responsible for killing the artist behind it, Rose Cooper, who, did this painting. We're learning that Charles has a past with this sort of thing, murder and all of this. It's a dark past that he hasn't really talked about, but we are learning about this season. So either somebody knows about it, or it's really about something else, which is just framing them. Like, there really is a few different types of motives, which is why I'm really enjoying this season a lot already, because, is it about the painting? Is it that, Howard and Uma wanted the painting, so they murdered her? Or is it Alice, this new sort of art gallery person that's like setting up Mabel to take a bigger fall? We saw her, build this piece of art for her to be filmed chopping it up with an axe. I'm really surprised that Mabel decided to do this, but it's not looking that great, to do something like that. Or are we, looking at the podcasting angle? Again, we have Cinda, who has stolen the model that they're using and could have created this problem. Or is this another type of situation where, I mentioned this in our last video, is it Cinda's assistant who, we've seen Cinda treating her really poorly last season and this season already, that maybe she's trying to find a way to set Cinda up for a fall?
There's also the possibility of Teddy or Teddy's son. Like, we didn't see them in this episode, but Teddy was clearly on that board that Charles is sort of working through. I mean, he has a very huge motive for doing this. Like, his whole business is basically destroyed because he was falsely accused. And not exactly like he and his son are innocent in, all crimes whatsoever here, but he's still out there. I mean, it feels like he's a little bit too obvious as the person who have done this, but it's still interesting sort of thing to think about.
Yeah, but the thing is he's very knowledgeable about this building, about the people who are in the building. He would be probably knowledgeable about this painting that's in the building. How, he obviously knows about all the different secret rooms and stuff like that. There's one in his apartment that Theo was hiding in and spying out that night that Mabel's friend got killed. So he has intimate knowledge of the building, and I think that that's an important factor in it. Like, the one person that they are kind of leaning into that I really don't want to see it be is this art gallery sort of curator, Alice. It's just kind of like all of a sudden she's come out of the woodwork to be like, hey, Mabel, you're really famous and you're a great artist, so come on down. I want to meet with you and talk with you about your art and make you feel great about your art or whatever. But I don't want to see another love interest is the murderer. We just saw that with Jan.
Yeah, and it is weirdly coincidental that Alice reaches out to Mabel at this particular moment, right after everything that happened. And she's definitely someone who I could see there being some sort of big reveal later where Charles and Oliver start to push Mabel about it, and Mabel's gonna be like, no, she can't do it. I trust her. I care about her.
Well, there could also be just the motive of the painting. The painting is worth $1 million. There's a forgery that's there. We learned that from Bunny's mom, who saw the painting, was like, oh no, there was a cut in the back of this, and the artist at the time, Rose Cooper, wasn't able to actually fix it properly, so she just kind of super glued it on the back. So if this is a forgery, then that means whoever took that painting that has the original painting had to have some sort of art skills to be able to forge this painting. And the only person we've met is Alice.
There's so many different components here. And I think that's what makes this fun and or tricky, is just this idea that, okay, whoever did this needs to have 1, knowledge of the Arconia, 2, knowledge seemingly of art, 3, knowledge of Charles's past. And really the way I'm sort of seeing it is, since Bunny was still alive at the time that Mabel came in there, that means that, she wasn't stabbed or anything else long before that. So whoever did this had to have done that and then escaped through Bunny's secret elevator descending into hell, and then got out of there and nobody was able to detect them. It seems like there was a lot going on.
Well, there's also a part of me that's wondering if these are not actually connected, and they probably are, but hear me out. There's a part of me that feels like maybe the murder is connected to something else and not the painting, but that the savage, with when Bunny said that, might have been something that was on her mind, that there's an art thief, but there's also someone setting them up because they're mad at them. So like a Cinda could be setting them up so that she has podcast material to steal their model and move forward. But then the painting could be just something else. I mean, like we saw with Howard and Uma going in there being like, get the painting. Like, the painting's worth some money. If she's gone, let's grab the painting. And it might be coincidental.
It could very well be. It's only 2 episodes in. They're going to throw, I think, some inevitable red herrings our way where we're meant to look in one direction. And I mean, another part of this is just the simple fact that, whoever killed Bunny, how were they going to be able to know that Mabel was going to be in there at that particular moment? It is a lot of different moving parts, because she's the one who made the decision to go down there and get, the champagne. It's not like somebody else told her to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's possible that the murderer was hoping that Bunny would just be dead by the time she came down there, and she just happened to come down there a little too quickly. But we also have to remember that they were warned to get out of the building. So whoever warned them, I mean, who would know that, and who would know about them getting framed? Is it possible then that we're back to the Cinda of it all again, and that the assistant maybe warned them, that the assistant is against Cinda and everything that Cinda is doing, and she knew that Cinda was planning this and actually wanted to help them get out of the building?
I think the most important thing right now, after 2 episodes, is just that we have a long list of suspects, and there's a lot of different ways the show could end up going. And it's also still possible there's something more connected to Charles's past, because this was really kind of heartbreaking that young Charles is just sitting out on this bench thinking that his father was doing auditions when clearly a part of his business was like being an art model, and he's like getting carried off by police at the end of it. There's still a lot more we got to learn from this.
The person that it's not is Amy Schumer, who has moved into Sting's apartment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're deep in the video now, so we will talk about the Amy Schumer of it all. We've seen the comments online. I mean, Amy Schumer's always been very polarizing. For me, I've just personally just never found her funny. She's not really kind of my cup of tea. I don't dislike her or like her or anything. She's just not my cup of tea. But fitting into sort of this world, it just didn't really work for me. I think it's because they went from somebody like Sting, who I never expected to see on this show or really any show, playing such a like ridiculous version of himself that's so grumpy and hates dogs and whatever, to maybe being a murderer, to, you know, Amy Schumer. I kind of was hoping Sting would be back and that he would actually be the murderer this season.
I think the problem is just they should have found somebody else who is a little bit more aloof or surprising or fun as an addition to the show, because I think Sting had so much of the element of surprise of, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Sting is in this building, where it's like Amy Schumer, you know, she just recently co-hosted the Oscars. She has another show on Hulu. Like, she's very much out there already. So I think you're sort of taking that element of surprise and fun out of there. And I think Amy was fine in the material that they gave to her. It's just that she herself just doesn't feel like she doesn't feel like it was the right direction for this show to go with this character, and they could have done other things.
Yeah, I think her showing up to kind of be like, hey, I want to buy the podcast. I want to make it a series about Jan, and I'm going to play Jan. We've seen that before. It didn't have enough payoff for really what it was and what was going on. And if it was going to be somebody like that that's interested in buying it, I don't know enough about Amy Schumer. I'm sure she has a production company or something, but I would have preferred to see an actor that has a production company that everyone knows about, that's sort of really out there, like Drew Barrymore. She's had a production company for a long time and a lot of people know about it. Or Brad Pitt, he's had one for a very long time.
Okay, now that you brought up names, I have one. Amy Poehler, you already have Tina Fey on this show. Let's just go completely, throw as many SNL related people on here as humanly possible. But yeah, that idea would have made a little bit more sense. Well, I mean, I'm sure at the end of episode 3, we'll all think that Amy Schumer is the murderer. That seems to be where this show goes.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's her. I don't know what her motivation would be at all.
No, she doesn't have any motivation.
No, she didn't even know what the painting was. She's like, this is my trash art I found on the wall. I was like, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that part of it was pretty funny. Her like being super thirsty for Charles before we realized that she was just like imitating Jan. I was kind of like, what is going on here? Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's a generation of very thirsty Steve Martin fans out there, but it's just like, okay, tone it down, Amy.
If you are one of those thirsty Steve Martin fans, hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment.
It's the banjo. That's got to be what it is. Okay, well, we have a lot to talk about through the rest of this season, so make sure you don't miss any of that. Thank you guys so much. Follow us on Instagram at Matt and Jess TV, and we will see you here next time.